This is the Cult Faction Podcast, episode 21. Parole, Patrol, and Back in Control.
Superman.
Hello and welcome to episode 21 of the Cult Faction Podcast, Parole, Patrol, and Back in Control. We're back. COVID is gone at the moment, and we're back on firing on full cylinders. And this is Brett Summers speaking, and with me today are
Damien Hicks
and Paul Hawkins. I love the way you say that COVID is gone now.
for us at the moment.
Oh, okay.
In
It's
our,
gone for
in, our,
me.
in our ongoing battle.
I'm double vaccinated and I have the antibodies, so
I too have the
I'm like
antibodies
Trump,
and the
I'm
double
immune.
vaccinations, and I'd
And orange.
just like to give a
all right.
Just like to give a big shout out to those anti-vaxxers who protested the BBC yesterday and protested the wrong building.
Well,
Always got
8 years
that's
too late.
brilliant. I love that.
it's like flat earthers, isn't it?
Yeah, research
Well,
people.
Try and get flat earthers to organise a rally with a longitude, latitude, and all that kind of good stuff on a 3-dimensional map.
I still like their Twitter account when they boast how many members they've got around the globe. It's like, guys, think about it, will you? But anyway, not that we want to pick out any particular beliefs of listeners we may have. There are lots of strange things going on this planet, and a lot of them on the big and small screen, which we've been looking at this week. So I'm going to start off by throwing it over to Paul this week. Paul, what have you been watching? Was it any good? Did you waste your life?
Wow, well, the last comment,
Yeah,
would come back to me.
I meant on watching it, and not just in general. It's not a deep philosophical podcast. I meant like 2 hours, I'll never get back again type thing.
Okay, so one of the films we're going to talk about later on, and
Yes.
and that was a big point of my film watching life over the last week. So I'm not going to talk about that now. So I'm not going to talk about minor TV either, other than to say that.
Hang on, what's minor TV?
So the little programs that take up the little half an hour here and there, not the kids programs. That's just a given, you know. But things like Silent Witness. I'm just done talking.
I think
with
we're done with Silent
Exactly.
Witness. I mean, unless someone like really, really famous pops up,
Yeah, then I keep
then
you
I
informed.
think it's worthy
yeah.
of mention.
I've been doing a lot of escapism, and where this may be down to the fact that we can't travel, I've been doing lots of escapism by certain celebrities that do travel. So we spoke about Ramesh and Rob Beckett.
You've been watching celebs go dating, haven't you?
No, absolutely not. But what I have got into is Travel Man with Richard Ayoade and different guests that spend 48 hours in a
Somewhere.
city of some
sort.
sort.
That's right.
Traveling.
Travelling, yeah. Hence the name. He used to be Gadget Man. Series 1 of Travel Man was him travelling with guests and gadgets, like what he did there. You know, it's a nice segue into his new spin-off series. And now it's purely, as you go down the different series, him travelling with different celebs. So yeah, it's just nice escapism, going places without going there. But as I said, minor TV, so I'm not going to talk about it too much. Okay, so film-wise, we again, so over the weekend we had a nice meal out with some friends, which wasn't interrupted by people dropping things on the floor.
It's terrible when that happens.
Yeah, so we had.
Where was this meal?
It is a really nice bar and grill.
Alfie's Bar and Grill.
Yeah,
Oh,
Alfie's bar and
Where
grill.
we're sat right now.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
Cool.
So we had like a Jamaican goat curry, much entertainment and nice chit chat.
Much entertainment.
You're entertained whether you like it or not.
Oh, okay.
I'll stay at home with a bag of crisps, just saying.
What flavour?
I can't even remember.
Oh.
Well, wasn't that great? But as I said, yeah, so that was most of Saturday night taken up. However, we did delve into, several films on Sunday. So whilst the lady of the house was sleeping, shall we say, I delved into Lord.
Should we say? When
Yeah.
When you drunk her?
Well,
Shall we say she was sleeping?
no, because it makes it sound bad, like she was hungover, but she actually wasn't drinking at all because she was on call. But she just fancied a nap because she had a busy Saturday.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Nap.
So I took the
I could do
opportunity.
other than that right now, to be fair.
So I took the opportunity while the kids were playing with their toys or on upstairs. I had myself, and I had this. Don't go there. And I just thought, okay, just me, Sunday afternoon. I'm gonna go for Lord of the Rings. Went back to Fellowship.
Is that what the young kids called it now? Is it?
Yeah, I was a little bit disappointed I did actually because it feels a bit dated and it pains me to say it. But yeah, maybe it's just because I've overwatched it so many times over the last few years.
They
But
should have just rode all the way to the thingy at the beginning.
yeah, but anyway, I'm not going to dwell on that too much because Lord of the Rings, I think it's been covered, and then covered
Hell
over
yeah.
and again. But Sunday night, we decided to have a date night in, and we spent some money on a film, and that was The Hitman's Wife's Bodyguard, which is the sequel to The Hitman's Bodyguard. So this is Ryan Reynolds, Samuel L. Jackson, Salma Hayek, Antonio Banderas, God himself, Morgan Freeman.
You love Ryan Reynolds.
I do love Ryan Reynolds.
Have you got any aviator gin?
No, not yet actually, because again, I'm hoping Brett's actually going to tag him.
Are you going to his football club as well?
Wrexham.
You're so stalking him.
I'm not stalking him. It's only stalking him if you send too many DMs and he doesn't reply or constantly tag him. But what I'm saying is, if we refer to him in a podcast, it would be inappropriate not to tag him, particularly if we're talking about one of his great films, superb films, The Hitman's Wife's Bodyguard, starring Ryan Reynolds. And I've even mentioned him in Green Lantern. Let's face it, I'm one of the only people that probably like that film, including Ryan Reynolds. And so, yeah, if somebody deserves some aviator gin, or aviation gin rather. What is it? Aviation? Oh, now you got me stumped. Any of Ryan Reynolds' superb gin.
It's not Ryan's not going to like it if you get it wrong.
Yeah.
Well, to be fair,
He was just putting the stamp on the box to send it to you. That's it now.
But yeah, so this is how to describe the film. It's you kind of know what it's going to do on the tin. It's fun.
Like Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah, I mean, as I said, it's not going to shock anybody that's seen the first one to know what should be expected from the second one. It's probably not going to win any Oscars whatsoever or any Best Acting awards, but it's nice to see, the on-screen camaraderie between Ryan and, as I call him, Ryan, and Sam L. Jackson. Just playing off against each other, being what were enemies, coming together to protect Salma Hayek, who is a little bit crazy and feisty, which we all expect from Salma Hayek.
Does she have a snake?
Oh no, that was a great film moment. But no, they're basically protecting him from Antonio Banderas and the bad guys that are under his employ. It's an hour and 42 minutes of fun-ish entertainment and action. I think the nice thing about this is Morgan Freeman. Spoiler alert for anybody that's watching. So Morgan Freeman.
What are they watching?
Listening.
Does
Well,
he,
I'm not sure whether they're on TikTok or.
Does he die?
No. So Morgan Freeman turns up and is just so happens to be Ryan Reynolds' dad. And he may not necessarily be the person that we all think and love that he may be in the film.
This just sounds like Detective Pikachu.
Another great film, sponsored by Aviator Gin. No, but as I said, it's not world bending or blinding, or it's not going to rock your world.
Surely you can only bend the world if it's flat. You're a flat earther.
Well, no, technically you can bend the world,
Are you
even
saying,
if it's a 3D model.
are you saying Ryan Reynolds didn't rock your world?
So, if anything, I think in this film, which is the problem for me, is that Ryan Reynolds is supposed to be slightly subdued. So he's not supposed to be a full-out hitman in this. He's supposed to not use weapons of violence.
He hasn't been subdued since Two Guys Ago on a pizza parlour.
Yeah, but that kind of takes away from it. So he's not there using weapons. So it's every non-lethal weapon that comes into his possession, which unfortunately I think takes away from it, as opposed to giving him a gun, letting him go, hell for leather with Samuel L. Jackson killing bad guys. For the first time, it was a bit funny. Oh, I can't kill you. I'm going to tase you or get.
That's
pepper
probably
spray.
going to be the next Avengers film, though.
Yeah,
Deadpool with Nick Fury.
but it kind of took away something, because it could have been a real proper, guns a blazing, Pulp Fiction, but comedy with him and Samuel L. Jackson, and this was a bit, by definition, muted because he was sensible. But it was worth the watch, and it was served its purpose of killing some time on a Sunday.
Cool.
Okay, so that was the modern film that I saw, but then I also took a little bit of a sidetrack because it was on, because I haven't seen it in a while, for V for Vendetta, with Hugo Weaving, Natalie Portman. I don't really need to go into this, I hope, in too much detail. Everyone should be aware of V for Vendetta.
Yeah. They'll at least know the image of the mask.
Yeah, exactly. But I think for me, the nice thing watching it back, and I haven't seen it in a few years, was it kind of harks back to those days of maybe even the 60s, 70s and 80s, when UK films like this were, that they had that kind of atmosphere, the government against everything, similar to the film version of 1984, feeling repressed, all that kind of good stuff. And it's weird, even though it's only a few years old, that they set that scene really well, even though it's set in the 2000s. They take it back to that kind of era. And Hugo Weaving, even though you don't see him during the film and he's covered behind a mask, the fact that it's him, I think adds to everything. Natalie Portman, I think, actually, when I first watched the film, I did her a bit of disservice, and that's probably because I was focused on too much on Hugo Weaving because of Lord of the Rings. Wow, good segue, even though I didn't know it. But watching it again, where she's been in so many other films since, actually she does a really good performance. Okay, so Hugo Weaving's in a mask, but for her, really good performance. And
she shaved her head for the film,
Yeah, yes, she did.
She did make a big sacrifice. Hugo, what you can do? You won't actually see me on behind this cloak and wig and stuff.
Yeah, so I'm going to wear.
What
really
are you going to
cool
do, Natalie? I've got to shave my head.
Yeah, but there's some also surprising cameos as well, and and little scenes, or actors in some of the little scenes. Great British actors, and it's deserving of a watch if you haven't seen it. And similarly, if you haven't seen it in a few years, go back and watch it, because it may give you some surprises. And it's just a nice kick-ass moment at the end where it's the little guy beating the oppressed government, or the government that's been oppressing them, and the overturn of the government, which I'm all up for.
No, I did like V for Vendetta. I mean, I was a big fan of obviously the graphic novel and that first, and then the film done right. A lot of people like this, they forgot that bit, whatever, but they always will. It was a clear adaptation. The point was there,
and there's only so much they can do in a couple of hours.
And just seeing people run around London that much, oh man, just made me thirsty. And when I'm thirsty, I like a Diet Coke.
Do you want some gin with that?
Maybe. I was trying to slot that in then, but we've gone past that now. So what else are you watching, Paul?
So that's what I really want to go on about, because I have a tendency to go on about some minor shows, but that's it for me. Other than the film we're going to be talking about later on.
Define minor shows.
So the normal Get Up, which you always have a go at me because I have to watch it. Things like Teen Titans. If you really want to talk to me about Teen Titans, then actually,
we might come back to that later on.
Well, there was a surprise baddie that appeared in one of the Teen Titans today. How do I describe it? Well, if I said it was almost a starfish shape. then that we may be talking about that later on. But so it's the normal churn of films and programs.
Okay, so thank you, Paul. It sounds like we had an interesting week on TV. Okay, Damien, what about yourself?
So, I've actually only managed to watch pretty much 2 things over the course of this week.
2 whole things.
2 whole things. Yeah, one which for some reason
2?
we're not talking about yet, even though it's not a secret. I don't think it's a secret, but for some reason
Don't talk
we've
about
kind
it.
of
If you
skated around
mention
the
it, the
issue.
bomb they put in your head will explode.
Ah, I see. If you go off mission, that's it. You're dead. Okay.
Sorry, I was there going, that rings a bell. Where do I know that? Is that Johnny Mnemonic? What? Okay, I digress. Damien.
Anyway, yeah. So the only other thing that I've watched this week
Wycliffe.
of interest
Wycliffe.
is not Wycliffe.
Is it that old lady that solves crimes?
Old lady that solves crimes.
That's not
Miss
Miss
Agatha
Marple.
Christie.
The one that's
No,
not
she
Miss
wrote them.
Marple.
Jessica Fletcher.
No, the English
Time
one.
and Bailey.
That's Rosemary and Thyme.
Whatever.
Time and
Who's
Bailey.
that old lady? And she's like the chief of police, and she's like hardcore, but she's an old lady.
Oh, Vera.
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 She's not the chief of police.
Or something. I
She's
don't know.
Chief of
I don't
Police.
watch it.
Crazy old detective that lives in a country cottage in the middle of nowhere and
What
she
about-
wears a big hat.
What about the monk? Because it was watching the monk that sold crimes.
No, you just went off on a tangent last week about the monk.
Yeah,
No one
else. No one's been watching.
No one's
that.
been watching Cadfael
I,
for
thought- I never went
donkey's
off
years.
on that.
You did.
That is a bit of a tangent.
Yeah.
That's like me with like Silent Witness or whatever.
Yeah. Okay. So what have you been watching?
So
Dave?
anyway, yeah. So what I have been watching is The Watch. So it's loosely based on Terry Pratchett's Discworld novels. I say loosely because it takes the names and a few traits of the characters from Discworld novels, puts them in a steampunk kind of style world instead of full-on fantasy world that Discworld is, and mucks about with them a bit, and that's it. It's a steampunk detective comedy.
So that's all we've got to say about that.
Yeah.
So it takes the names, protects the innocents, doesn't build.
Protects the innocents.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Oh no, it's like the American police force, isn't it? Serve and
Did you,
protect.
did you suddenly become an 80s voiceover artist from the beginning of the film? Takes the names, protects the innocents.
In a world.
Mahoney.
It's
Anyway.
like Robocop.
So, The Watch then. So, if someone hasn't got a clue about Terry Pratchett but has heard about him or whatever, is this something they should watch?
No, not if you want to watch something that's written and as good as something Terry Pratchett would create. No, you shouldn't. However, that being said, I still enjoyed it. It's got, as I said, it takes the characters' names, it moves them into a steampunk kind of era, and it's a detective comedy. But, you know, Vimes and Lady Sybil, who anyone who's read the books will know, they're kind of written as much older characters in the books. In this, they're probably, well, I've got no idea how old the actors actually are.
Probably our age.
They probably are
Bit
our age,
sexy
yeah.
for the
Maybe
younger audience.
late 30s, early 40s probably, maybe. But I mean, Vimes
20s,
certainly looks 40 anyway in
20s.
this. 20s?
Late
You wanna-
20s?
Yeah, you want to go there?
Okay, no, maybe not in this day of
No.
TikTok.
And some of the sexes of the characters have changed, but again, I don't think if you really care about that, that doesn't matter. I'm sure there's Terry Pratchett purists out there that would have an issue with it. But it's more the fact that they haven't really used any of the books or the stories in the books as a basis for this TV show. What they've done is they've taken some elements of probably the 3 main Watch books, but some of the other sort of mythology, if that's the right word, for the Terry Pratchett Discworld series, and kind of shoehorned it into this. So it's not a Terry Pratchett adaptation by any stretch of the imagination. It's just using the characters' names and the locations and creating something different from it.
And that's the thing with Pratchett and Discworld, and I'm sure we've talked about it before, not just tonight, but in other podcasts as well, is that while the books, and they're not big books, most of them, they're quite short, but over the series and even in the novels that he produces, he managed he managed to cram in so much folklore, so much mystique in such a short amount of pages compared to some authors that maybe take 1,000 pages and don't do as much. he almost let the reader fill in the blanks, and then that sounds like a weird way of saying it, but he was very much one of those authors, and me as I'm absolutely not, but me as an aspiring author, someone that no, but someone that's got a few stories in their head. He's my kind of mentality. You know, he kind of says what he thinks, lets the reader fill in a lot of blanks. If he's not sure about something, or if he can't portray it in the right way, as you said, he'll put in footnotes, or he'll put a little asterisk, this is what I really meant. But it's that very much, he's talking with the reader, but he builds up this big old history, this big old mythology throughout his novels. And that's kind of ingrained into you if you read, you know, the Discworld novels. And that's really hard. And yeah, we've spoken about the stuff that, you know, Sky have done and other people have tried to serialize. It's really hard to put into film everything that Terry Pratchett is trying to get across in a book. And I'm assuming that The Watch doesn't do that, and it's taking, as you said, some of the names, because they bought the licenses, or they bought the copyright rather, and they've tried to make this into a sexy serial of episodes based on people our age and our looks, maybe. I don't know, I haven't seen it.
Well, yeah, sort of. I mean, it's just, like I said, they've taken the names and they put it in a steampunk universe. Some of the characters are younger, some of the characters have changed sex. There's some of the elements, so, you know, there's a kind of running gag with Corporal Carrot that he's a normal person, but has been raised by dwarves because he fell down the hole many years ago and was raised by some dwarves in a mine. So in that, it's obviously the joke is that he's so much taller than the rest of the clan. They go back to his mine in this, and everyone is no one's a dwarf. They're all exactly the same height as him, if not taller and shorter, etc. So it's that kind of stuff. It's not Pratchettized, if that even, it should be a word. If it's not, I'm going to make it a word. That's what it isn't, Pratchett. But as a standalone steampunk detective series, it's actually quite funny.
And the other thing is, as well, is from the Pratchett novels, there is a dark side. You know, assassins kill people. It was in horrible ways. Yeah, I mean, they had the comedy as well.
There's ingenious ways of killing people, that kind of stuff. The Assassin's Guild feature heavily in it. They're the kind of the big bad that they're, you know, sort of fighting against, if you like.
Yeah.
And like I say, yeah, they're in it, but they're not. They're not as dark. They're more comical. Your man Brett, one of your favourites.
Michael Ironside.
No. What's his name? He's in your Zapped. He's actually in Vera. Yeah. That's a shock, yeah. He's in Afterlife as well. He's a psychiatrist in Afterlife. I cannot remember his name now.
Oh, Paul Kay.
Yes. He's one of the main assassins in it.
Okay, I can see him doing that, actually.
Yeah, and it is good, but it's comical.
Yeah.
It's not the dark, you know, underworld of Ankh-Morpork. But as I said, that being said, as a standalone steampunk detective series, if you were to just watch that, not knowing anything about Terry Pratchett and the Discworld series and, you know, all of that sort of stuff, you'd probably enjoy it, because I still enjoyed it. Two episodes in, I kind of decided to ignore the fact that Vimes was called Vimes and Lady Sybil was Lady Sybil, and just watch it for what it was.
Yeah.
And it's enjoyable. So I don't know if it's been renewed. I'm not sure. There's been as you would expect from real die-hard Pratchett fans, there's been a lot of kickback, and you can't change. Yeah, chowderheads. You can't change the sex of this character. This so and so's much older, much younger. Blah 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 blah. But it's not your work, so it doesn't matter.
But
and Pratchett actually wouldn't have cared. I genuinely believe that it wouldn't have bothered him, to be perfectly honest. It's like, yeah, I'll go along with that.
I think that's the thing, though. But for people that have read a lot of the series, I mean, I don't know whether I've read them all. I don't think I have, but I've read a lot of them. People are genuinely crying out for a good adaptation, and I don't think we've seen a decent.
We haven't seen anything that does justice to the Discworld.
That kind of links into what I was going to ask you guys next. Obviously, I've read a couple of the books. doesn't really grab me at all. But for people listening now and going, well, I've heard about this Terry Pratchett and this Discworld stuff before. There's been all these different adaptations. There's all the stuff on Sky, the Hogfather and all that sort of thing. Where should I start? What should I dive into? Is there a preferred TV adaptation? Is there a preferred book? Is there a preferred audio? But whatever, what if someone was like, I keep wanting to try out this Terry Pratchett geezer, what should I do?
So go for the books, but because no disrespect to
There's a lot of them.
yeah. So first of all, because no disrespect to any of the audio books or any of the series or serializations that have come, everything that I've seen on screen doesn't live up to Terry Pratchett's writings, and from a novel perspective, it's not one of those that you have to read in sequence. I mean, he's done God knows how many Discworld novels,
idea how many there are,
20,
loads.
30 or whatever, and obviously some of them go in sequence with the likes of the Watch. There's several that follow on. I think for me, it might have been the one with Death when he first loses his way, and I think that was probably because you mentioned it to me once, Damien. In all seriousness, because you went on about Terry Pratchett years and years ago. For me, it was I was more into the I was going to say mainstream sci-fi fantasy. It wasn't, but
The serious sci-fi fantasy.
yeah,
stuff.
the serious sci-fi fantasy stuff. But then the nice thing about Terry Pratchett is it's not just escapism sci-fi fantasy. It's almost escapism from the escapism. Because it's not pretentious. It's a way of writing directly almost to a reader, and I love some of his like footnotes and some of the introductions to the novel where he's literally just talking to the reader saying, I made this stuff up, or blah blah blah. Thanks for reading my stuff. Don't know why you are sometimes, but as long as you're going to carry on reading, I'm going to carry on writing. And you had that connection from the get go for me. I don't know about you. I hand it over to you.
Yeah. So going back to your original question, Brett, it would be pick up a book and read it. But if you really wanted to look at an adaptation, then I would go for Hogfather, which was the first one Sky produced. God knows how many years ago now, 2004, maybe, might be even earlier than that. But that's mainly because it's probably one of my favourites of the series, and I read it every Christmas. I dust down my copy in early December.
Everyone needs a tradition.
Yeah, I normally finish it by Christmas Eve at the latest. And I think that there's a magic to that adaptation that you don't get with Going Postal and the other one. I can't never remember what it's called. But all three of them are pretty decent.
Yeah.
But again, any Terry Pratchett fan will tell you that none of those adaptations actually get the true sense of the Discworld novels, because you just can't. As Paul mentioned, the footnotes and stuff like that. You read in the book, there'll be a joke or there'll be something in there, and at the bottom of the page will be a little footnote to kind of either explain it or give you some of the background to whatever he's just mentioned, be it a book or whatever, and that you just can't really get that across on the screen.
And it's not for the want of trying, because so many different production companies have tried to take on the beast that is Terry Pratchett novels, and they've got really great actors for a load of these adaptations. It's just if you've read the books, something just doesn't gel.
The magic isn't there.
Yeah.
I mean, they even did some animation ones. I don't know. They might have been Cosgrove Hall. I can't remember now. Like way back in probably the 90s, and they were pretty faithful. But I mean, you can do a lot more with animation than you can do with visual effects on screen. But yeah. Anyway, we've gone off at a real tangent, more about Terry Pratchett and the Discworld novels than we have actually about what I've been watching.
The animation was 1998, and the Hogfather was 2006. Just
a couple of years out on either then, so that's not too bad. So yeah, that's what I've been watching. We've also, as I said, something else that for some reason we're not mentioning, and so,
but we will do.
But we will do at some point.
It's coming.
Anyway, so without mentioning what seems to be unmentionable, Brett, what have you been watching?
I've been using my time off to catch up on a few things that I've needed to catch up on. Season 7, sleep has.
You're a teacher, and you're not in the south of France, which is amazing.
No one's in the south of France. Settle for the south of England.
Yay.
But I've been watching season 7 of The Flash, which I think the UK is up to about episode 8 or 9 now. I know it's a bit further in America.
Okay, honest. Right, serious question, honest answer. Okay, because for me, Flash has always been one of my weaker characters to get with. Okay, I liked it in the Snyder Cut where they tried to bring Flash to the forefront. Is the series worth it?
Oh, the series is probably one of the best ones of the Arrowverse. It's been a great series. I mean, I would say by season 7, I would say this might have been a good season to end it on. But I think they're going to push on. I think a season 8 has been confirmed, and that might then be the last series. But as a series, there's been some outstanding moments.
Okay.
I mean, it does suffer a little bit from the CW-ness of it, which means that, you know, everyone in it is kind of a GQ fashion model, but more or less. But and if they're not, you know that they might be bad.
Pretty much like this podcast.
Yeah, almost really. Yeah, and I guess you're the bad one. But it's like...
Whoa, okay. What? You're like a Flash Gordon and baddie, are you?
Yeah. Got the beard.
Yeah, I know.
The bald hair
and the eyebrows.
And the eyebrows. Yeah. So yeah, pretty much. Yeah. Yeah, I'll take that. But yeah, it's, you know, season 7 is trucking on okay. There's been some nice little bits, but you know, with Arrow's finishing and Arrow's finished now, and like you can kind of see the steam coming off the wheels a little bit now, or you know, it's running out of steam a little bit.
So
now.
we've talked about this before, about the longevity and the future plans between Marvel and DC and what the long-term roadmap is. Yeah. And we've said often that from a series perspective, DC probably has it.
Yep, I'd agree with that.
I think some of the new Marvel series are coming to a forefront and trying to take on some of that. So that's really, I don't know what you're doing. But
that's Damien, not me. But no, I think you're right. I mean,
don't worry about what I'm doing. Just carry on talking.
Well, Marvel again have set out to do some small mini series and TV series.
No, and agreed. But from a longevity perspective, okay, so Flash you think's winding up. What else, from that perspective, DC perspective, is your highlight or
what? Yeah, I would say. Yeah, the Flash has probably been my favourite through most of it, but as I say, I think that's having its moments. I would say, also, the season 2 of Batwoman has been very, very good, much better than the first season,
and that's got a lot of praise.
Yeah, I mean they've definitely turned that round quite a lot, and DC Legends of Tomorrow is also doing very
Classic.
well, and I mean that's a show if you've not seen it yet. Avoid season 1 and just dive in at season 2. Really.
No, don't avoid season 1. Rory's in season 1.
Oh yeah, sorry, yeah, Rory is in season 1. He is in a bit of season 2.
Yeah,
but
a bit.
But but Legends has gone from strength to strength and is almost played serious, but is also very tongue in cheek, and that's your show if you like your Easter eggs and your references and all your other sorts of things like that. I mean, there's a lot of that in Legends, and the current series is doing very well in that. Although I'm still a little bit worried where that might go, because if the Flash is kind of the tentpole of the Arrowverse now that Arrow's gone, and if the Flash finishes, Supergirl's wrapping up soon as well.
Yeah,
it'll be interesting to see where they're gonna go next, because they've still got some great characters there. And I'm sure there's room for other spin-offs and things. It will just, to me, I think it will just be whether or not they want to keep them going on, or whether, which is probably what will happen, is DC will go, yeah, we don't want to make TV shows anymore, and just pulled a lot of them.
I know, but this comes back to the fact that when we said in the past that Marvel have a plan and an agenda, whether that comes to like the film franchises that interact and weave in between each other.
Can we not? Can we please?
No.
For the love of God and all that's holy, not go back through the Marvel, whatever you call it, cinematic universe.
No. I'm not talking about Marvel.
We are. I
referencing
literally
Marvel.
just heard Marvel,
Referencing
and they have a
Marvel.
plan.
But again, from a DC
Look,
perspective,
I've said this before, and I'm going to say it again.
as
The
well.
only good stories you get from superheroes is the origin story, and maybe a bit after that where they, save the world for a second time. Flash is a good example of that. The first 2 seasons of Flash, so when he was being mentored by spoiler alert, if you haven't watched it, when he was being mentored by the guy who actually killed his mother in the first place, very good season. Second season was okay. From then, it has been downhill, and it's the same with Arrow. Arrow,
The Earth
when you
2
got all the
stuff was good.
backstory and everything like that, it was great. As it goes on, it's just one man trying to save the city.
You have failed this.
Exactly. So all they have to do really is go back to their archives, find another superhero, tell us his origin story, get 2 or 3 seasons out of that, move on to the next one.
Similar to Titans.
Wouldn't know.
But Titans is another one that is part of this, but isn't. But is.
I know.
But,
And similar to Doom Patrol.
Doom Patrol as well, another great one, and Stargirl as well. Stargirl has been very good. The first season, season 2 of that coming out soon. So they again, I think they're going that way, and I think it's that shift as well from the CW now over to the sort of HBO Max. Now that they've got their sort of stock in that, and I think that's going to be. I think they're almost in that situation like Marvel were with the Netflix series of the Punisher, Daredevil, Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, and Iron Fist, where they had those shows there that people were enjoying, and then but they didn't fit in with their plan, so they just sort of pulled the plug on them, even though they were doing really well. And I think that again might be what you're going to see with the Arrowverse now, where they're going to let it sort of run its course, and maybe whatever contracts are signed, and then you might see it all come back again in a slightly different version on HBO Max, which, to be fair, has you get a bit of a better budget on HBO Max as well, as you can see in the difference of like how Stargirl looks compared to, maybe like Black Lightning and even some of the episodes of The Flash and things like that. And I don't know. Again, it just goes back to what you said, Paul. Marvel kind of had no idea from the start. DC have just been throwing stuff at the wall and hoping it sticks. I mean, I don't think there was initially an Arrowverse planned as much. I think it just came out of the fact that Arrow done really well. They introduced the Flash as a character in a kind of, I think it was almost like a backdoor pilot, and it worked. And then they've just repeated that formula now of chucking characters in. If it's a good episode, they might get their own series. If not, they won't. I mean, the same thing with Constantine. He had his own series that got cancelled, but then they over time brought the character in, and they've kept him around, and he's doing okay. Although there might be a twist on him in the next season of Legends, but we'll wait and see.
Okay, so I took you on a tangent then. So let's bring you back. So that's the Flash.
Can I come back into the room now?
That's pretty much all the Arrowverse shows I'll be catching up on. Yeah. So
and Damien is back in the room. So what else has been in the Summers household this week?
What else have I been watching? I went back and watched Solar Opposites again because that was really good.
You're still doing that, are you?
Yeah, I've done that, and I've also
Still banging that drum.
I've also caught up on the Netflix Transformers War for Cybertron trilogy, which was very good and very dark take on the Transformers. They've done it in 3 parts over time. You had Chapter 1 with Siege, and then they had Earthrise, and then Kingdom launched at the end of July.
Is that the one with... Because I've seen a few trailers, because there's a few of them on...
Very anime kind of stuff.
Yeah, okay. Then that's where I was going. They changed the look and feel around quite a lot.
Yeah, they've kept a lot of stuff, but they've changed a lot of stuff. It's definitely darker. There's only, I think, 18. I think it's 6 episodes a chapter or season, however you want to call it. So there's only 18 to catch up on, so you can do it in sort of an afternoon. And the Kingdom season, chapter 3 or season 3 or whatever you want to call it, is probably the most perplexing because it introduces the Predacons as well in a very interesting way, which was like a totally different thing, really. So you get the Maximals and the Predacons sort of teaming up with the Autobots and the Decepticons. That's kind of a bit weird, but it's okay. You also get, well, spoilers. You also get Galvatron appearing to advise Megatron because he's trying to prevent his future. You also see...
Isn't that for indigestion?
Galvatron.
They also introduce Negative Prime, who's a future version of Optimus Prime, who's become evil and is a Decepticon.
Okay.
So you get a lot of like the time travel, past, present, and future stuff, and it ends in a really interesting way, which kind of is a really good ending, but also kind of gives you something where they may return to this interpretation and take it further. But if you're a Transformers fan, I'd recommend it. It's not the Transformers you know and love from 1984, Generation 1, but they are all there. There are some really good Easter eggs and references, but it is a lot darker and, a bit more disturbing in some ways.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, Transformers, similar to as we mentioned about Highlander last time, it was of an age and of a time, and I'm almost scared to watch something now in case it just doesn't live up to it, or if it takes away from it. But okay, you've made a good argument to go and watch it.
No,
So,
definitely worth a watch, I think. Or
So-
at least if you watch the first couple, once you get the vibe of it, you'll like it or you won't. I think that's one of those.
okay, so what else?
Also on Netflix, I finally got a chance to watch Horror Noir: A History of Black Horror. Really, really interesting documentary about black horror. Really, a history of black horror. How the black characters have been interpreted in horror. How they're across culturally and as well, and how that's been interpreted in horror, and how it's gone from everyone being a voodoo person to everyone being the first person that dies to eventually at some point maybe even being the hero in a film. Really interesting watch. A lot of things I hadn't thought about before. A few films I hadn't even thought about in that way before. It definitely challenged my thinking and opened my eyes a bit
What
to
was
a lot
a
of
film?
things.
What was a film recently? Was it Us or was it?
The Get Out.
Get Out, yeah, and that was a really cool thing for me.
There's a lot of that in this documentary.
Yeah, because that took the archetypal black person bad, threw it on its head, and it's like a really nice guy that is being tortured and escapes the white oppressors in a really...
There's a really good bit with was it Jordan Peele who directed that
Can't
one?
remember.
I think it was. And he just says, he goes, spoiler alert. He said, if you watch the Get Out, he said all the white people are bad.
Yeah.
It's just like,
But I love that film because it did it in such a good way, and again, you from the outside coming in, it got rid of all those preconceptions and turned it on its head instantly.
What I really loved about that film as well is right at the end, and they talk about this in a documentary as well actually, and it's one of the bits I could actually relate to. Right at the end, when he's escaped, and all spoilers, he's escaped and he's killed them all, and that, and you see the police lights flashing. In any other film, you'd be like, oh, they're safe.
Yeah.
But because it's a black character, you're worried that it might be worse.
Well,
And
I was just thinking,
like,
is this the take for Get Out too?
that's what I mean. It's just that thing with any other film, when those police come at the end, normally you're like, or it's the morning and the police arrive and everything's okay. It's that sort of symbol of safety. But
Unless you've seen
weren't
Terminator
sure.
2. Spoiler alert.
Have you seen this child? But But yeah, highly recommended if you've got Shudder, or maybe get
I was
it
just
for the
going to ask
trial.
that, Brett. You said it when you started talking about it. I think you said it was on Netflix, but I was going to ask you,
Oh,
are
yes,
you sure about
Shudder,
that?
sorry.
Didn't want to throw you under a bus.
No,
or anything,
that's
but-
okay. No, I've been watching so many things. Yeah, it's on Shudder. You can get a free trial on Amazon at the moment in the UK. But yeah, Horror Noir: A History of Black Horror. Well recommended, and it will challenge your thinking, which is what any
Cool.
good documentary should do. I went back and watched Tombstone again,
Yay!
the classic
I'm your
western.
Huckleberry.
You're not
Yeah.
quiet.
And again, just amazes me the amount of talent in that film. Looking at it nowadays, and just
See,
it would cost so much to make that film now in wages if it was.
so I must admit, I mean, when you mention that film, it's that perfect because it's a build up. It's potentially slow in some places but it's not like Unforgiven slow. It builds up a story. There's some great shots, great long scenes, classic lines that just even today when they're delivered by the likes of Val Kilmer, it's just that stay with you. And you're right, there's a cast of millions of actors now that have gone off and done.
It's a slight exaggeration. I mean, it's not Ben Hur.
No, but there's a cast.
Better than Ben Hur.
There's a cast of hundreds.
Most things are better than Ben Hur. Let's be honest.
Whoa, that's a different topic. I love Ben Hur.
I'm not saying there's any. I'm not saying anything against it. I'm just saying there's a lot of things that are better than Ben Hur.
But it's a great film. But at the time, I think it was almost it was awarded, but I don't think it had the box office.
Yeah, no, it was
success.
That one that it smashed the box office. It was the Kevin Costner one that came out a few months later or a year later, the White Out one. That was that was the one that bombed and I don't think made its money back. Although it was probably more historically correct and all that stuff, but
Yeah, there's a huge amount of inaccuracies in Tombstone, but it doesn't matter. It's still a good.
Well,
film.
the thing is, there is in the life and times of Wyatt Earp as well, depending on who's doing the talking. And,
Yeah, if you read Wikipedia,
yeah.
then
Or just do some research. Watch a 1 minute video on Facebook and make an opinion about it.
But it had that gut feel where you were watching, and it was a long film. You built up the feelings for the characters. You got, engaged with them. You didn't like it when Doc was like coughing up blood. You felt sorry, all that kind of good stuff. And when there were the big battles, you felt it when someone got shot. You were engaged with it. It's not like a spaghetti western where people are just getting shot left, right, and centre. And it's a stonking film. And at the time, Val Kilmer was obviously Jim Morrison in The Doors, big old actor for me, and it was brilliant.
Well, you think about that whole troop. You had Val Kilmer had just coming off of his Doors fame and Top Gun and all that. Kurt Russell was already an icon by then. Sam Elliott had already done Roadhouse,
wearing
and
mustaches
just being
that,
cool.
that looked cool and that no one could pull off.
And the baby brother was the late great Mr. Paxton, wasn't it? Yeah. Who'd already done his Alien and loads of other films. On its own, them four as a street gang sounds pretty cool to start with, really. But so Tombstone, still holds up, still very good. And the last main thing I'll say that I've watched, I went back in our soundtracks episode. It drew me back to it, and I went and watched Tron Legacy again, and still probably the better Tron film.
Really?
I still don't get how they didn't make a sequel to it. I think it's one of those films that has become more well known via, Netflix or whatever, Sky or whatever it's been shown on since, Blu-ray, DVD, etc. I don't think they gave it the push it deserved at the time. Still a brilliant story, stands up really well. Soundtrack's obviously awesome. We can go and listen to that episode about that. And the only thing that's slightly ropey now is the younger Kurt Russell sort of CGI effects.
Yeah,
which
but
looks
you
like a
can
computer
forgive
game.
that.
But that's something that, these things move on every month and get better and better.
Did-
So it's,
The only issue I have a few issues with Tron Legacy. The first of which was Tron, which I watched as a kid and instantly fell in love with because it was completely different. It was using computer animation at the time, which was
it was.
And the idea that you could go into that computer animation was completely mind blowing, and it was pure Disney at the time, whereas the latest version, the second one, was almost maybe it was released at the same time as other stuff.
December
genre.
2010 it came out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Maybe it was released at the same time as other stuff, and we had the Matrix, which was kind of same vibe. Should I say not same storyline, but that kind of same slow-mo vibe.
I think it suffered on the fact that I think Disney. That's what I watched it on. I watched it on Disney Plus. I think Disney assumed that everyone knew what Tron was, and I think there's been maybe a couple of generations where they didn't know who Tron was.
Yeah.
I think Tron's gone on to the
It wasn't
the Sunday afternoon film that pops up now and then, and
from a Disney perspective, it's not like the other Disney films. It's not something that gets the constant watch. It's not like the cartoon classics that are already out there, or the new Disney. It's almost a VHS. I found that in the back of the cupboard. That's a brilliant film. We're going to watch that. And you're right. It's one of those secluded, hidden gems that are often forgotten about.
Yeah, to me, I think that was the biggest. I mean, there was a cartoon series after it where a lot of the main cast done their voice in that. Tron, I think it was Uprising, and so they suddenly saw value in it, but I hope we do get another sequel to follow on from that.
I don't know whether there will be a sequel.
Well, they were discussing it in December 2020. That was the last we got, and then COVID hit, so I don't know what they've been doing since then.
Yeah, no, it's just in the world we live in. I don't know whether it's going to be a sequel or it's going to be a reboot.
Oh, no,
you know what I mean?
We might get a Disney series out of it. That's where the money is now, isn't it? On Disney Plus.
Yeah, I've got mixed feelings about a series.
Yeah, well, as long as they do it properly, I don't mind. But it's,
I mean, don't get me wrong, it has legs to be, many stories. It's just whether they put in the production costs and value into a series as opposed to like a reboot film.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. It's just it'll be interesting to see what they do. But there's a franchise there. I don't think they brought the computer game back out when the film came out.
Well, again, from a Disney's perspective, it suffers because from a they're thinking about the big cash cow. What figures can we produce? What games can we produce? All this kind of stuff.
I mean, the games are in there. They could have just brought it out as even a free download now, because probably the memory for that sort of game now is
but the original,
probably play it on your phone.
But the original games are absolutely that. It's just how do you modernise that? Well, actually,
no, I mean just the original game. Go for the whole retro thing.
Yeah, but that's not bringing it forward. So to do a Tron nowadays, it would have to be a free player open world type where you get onto like a speed bike.
I mean,
or
make those as well, don't get me wrong, but I think the retro game thing could have been something like I would have maybe done it as a free download on your phone or whatever, and kids can play it, people can play it, and it can be TikTok to bits or whatever else, and it's just like, but it would have got it out there. Kids might not necessarily know what it was, the film, but they might have played the game, and everyone get. I mean, Snake is back. Man, I was saying this the other week at school. It's better graphics now, but kids are starting playing Snake again.
Yeah, I mean, PR's got a lot to do with stuff, and I don't think they necessarily sold that as well as they could have done. Yeah. It was very much about graphics at a time when a lot of good films had brilliant CGI, brilliant special effects, so that wasn't really a biggie. Storyline, again, they didn't necessarily play on a big Tron storyline, and even games, as I said, a lot of the games from the 80s have been superseded, and I'm not sure whether it's got that draw from the other franchise stuff or the other games and toys that they can have in. So it's whether Disney are invested in it as much as they could have, you're in the likes of a Star Wars film.
Oh, no,
where they
definitely.
know they
I
can-
think that's what it was at the time. I think they had it, but they also had the new Star Wars trilogy. They had the Marvel films at the time, and I think it was one of those where they put all their eggs in those baskets, and
Yeah.
Tron Legacy just kind of got left to sort of, blow around in the wind and see where it landed, really. And it's a shame because there's a lot there, but as you know, it's all corporate nowadays.
And in the IT speak, it kind of crashed.
Yeah, so that's all I've been watching, really. And I guess that takes us over to
News desk.
The news. News items.
Okay, first up on the news items today is the hottest film at the moment, The Suicide Squad. James Gunn's interpretation.
Is this a new film? Wasn't it out a few years ago?
This is the.
Only joking.
This is.
I think you're mistaken there, Paul.
This is what they call
For most of the child heads, I don't think that film exists.
Yeah, this is the soft reboot, as it's been described.
Or to be fair to the original director of the Suicide Squad, similar to Zack Snyder, that wasn't his interpretation of what he wanted it to be.
That was.
Let's
that
not
was
go down that route
Suicide
again.
Squad. This is the Suicide Squad.
Thanks for clarifying.
Done on purpose.
Yeah.
Go around. Paul, what did you think?
We're just going for it.
Let's
are
just
we?
go in. Just go straight in.
Yeah.
We all know what the Suicide Squad is.
We need to say that there may be some
Spoiler alert, spoiler alert, spoiler alert.
Awooga.
No,
Spoiler alert.
no. Awooga?
Yeah, why not? It's a throwback to Red Dwarf, but
I was going to say, you lister?
why not?
Okay. Awooga.
Just a side note, I did learn this week, and I never realised that Camille was actually Crichton's missus in real life.
Oh, never knew that.
He put a thing up. It was their anniversary, and it was like met this woman like 30 years ago. Then it was a picture of them both as like Crichton.
In their prosthetics.
Yeah.
Cool.
There we go.
Anyway,
Okay, so I was okay. So similar to Snyder,
Hang on, before we go any further, did you leave the door open for a reason?
yeah, because you told me to.
No, I didn't. We had a conversation a little while ago. It's not hot in here anymore. Let's
Okay.
close the
I'll
door.
it.
Pause it.
No, don't pause. Just close the door.
Oh, here we
and
go.
carry on talking.
Sorry, listeners. And I've got a mosquito flying around me.
Hence why the door should be shut.
Close that door. Shut that door.
I have shut the door.
There's somebody at the door.
Boom, boom.
What other door references can we get in?
Let's not.
Riders. No. Okay.
No.
Okay, so I tried not to get my hopes up, and I tried not to get excited, but I couldn't. And because I'm following James Gunn on Twitter and a lot of the other cast members on Twitter, it was really impossible not to get sucked into the hype for this film. And I must admit, okay, so a couple of things for me. I kind of loved the way they did the build up, the twists and the turns from the get go. It is completely R rated as well, which I think the first film really struggled from deciding, is it a family film, is it a bit gritty. This one there's no illusions. This is a full on blood, guts.
Well, I think one of the conditions when they approached Gunn to do it, this was after he'd been fired by Disney for his old tweets from 20 years before, was something to do with the fact of like he would do it if he had complete creative control and they wouldn't interfere. And I think because they were desperate to sign him up, they just gave him it.
Yeah, but they let him have free reign, and there's no is this what the director really wanted, or are we worried about the production company?
The interpretation.
Yeah, exactly. And you get that from the get-go. I mean, I must admit, I'm probably going to sound a bit like a teenage fan of James Gunn.
Chowderhead.
Well, yeah, but I for the majority, I loved it. And I loved what they were trying to do. As I said, if there was a need for a sorry, Damien. If there's need for you finished.
You having a stroke?
No.
What's your problem?
If there was a need for
For anyone that's listening, I doubt you are by now, but if you still are listening to this, I just bent over to pick something up from the floor, and for some reason he got distracted. I don't know what that says about our relationship, but I am concerned.
But there are twists and turns, and I'm trying not to give too many spoilers away.
But
But
said spoilers, so you do it.
okay, from the fact when the first Suicide Squad get onto the beach and they all get decimated, I absolutely loved it. You know,
If you go back and listen, I did call that though.
yeah, but I loved it. You know, obviously Harley Quinn's a major character, so you kind of thought, well, they can't kill her off, can they? And some of the other characters, you didn't know whether they were here, there, or not. But yeah, the decimation of the Suicide Squad to start with, I think, was a great, start to the film, and then instantly cutting over to the second Suicide Squad, which were the main
Characters.
well,
Mission.
yeah, the main mission operatives is what I was trying to get to, and the other ones were the decoys. I loved it, and then the build up of the different characters.
I did like, actually, as one of the good things, they really brought out Amanda Waller's badassness of getting the mission done in this film. It was there in the first one, and you see it a bit in some of the other DC movies, but this one was, full on.
The fact that she was willing just to crucify the first Suicide Squad, you realise what a bitch that woman is. And also the fact that the second crew weren't aware of the first crew's existence.
Yeah, she doesn't even tell me. Oh, that's a distraction.
Exactly. And yeah, I was a bit of a sucker, if I'm completely honest, for King Shark. You see a bit of the stuff from the promos about him. Sylvester Stallone is the voice of King Shark, and you see the odd trailer here and there. Yeah, I fell for King Shark. Absolutely. I love the bits in the films where he gets to know friends, all that kind of good stuff, and he thinks that those piranhas are like his best friends until they start eating him. Yeah, absolutely sucked into that.
Weren't really piranhas, were they?
Well,
I've not seen a piranha that looked like that.
tropical-
Piranha?
tropical-
Piranha. I can't say. I can't stop saying piranha. I've not seen a piranha
Tropical
look like
fish.
that. They weren't even fish. They look
well,
more like
I know
big jellyfish, alien
fish.
things.
alien-looking
I
jelly.
just- if we're gonna talk about this at great length, which it seems we are, please get the facts right.
Oh, okay, alien-looking jellyfish piranha
Just saying.
type things. That King Shark has this little revelation, this little moment with them where he thinks they're his friends, and they're mimicking him, and then they turn out that they're blood-sucking bastards that are trying to kill him once they get hold of him. So King Shark fell in love with, and everyone has stuff to say about Sylvester Stallone. He did great vocal work for that. The character, what they managed to do with that CGI, what they managed to do with that character, again, I think was impressive. Idris Elba, again, had, if I'm completely honest, I want to say big shoes to fill from a Will Smith.
Will Smith sucked in the first film.
No, I see. I take it. I don't
He
agree
played
with
a
that.
character who wasn't Floyd Lawton.
No, but again, I don't necessarily think that is this a Will Smith failing, or is this the film that failed Will Smith?
Well, once, I mean, I'd say the script failed the character of Floyd Lawton,
Yeah.
which Smith then played. And
But
I think Smith was the one that wanted to insert that it wasn't, he wouldn't kill women and children. So you will. You killed your own mother.
yeah, but again, I think Idris Elba did a sterling job. I think he performed great, and actually, I'm going to be
He's gone again. Is it?
You're right there.
Put a quid in him. He's running out.
Lip syncing, lip service, limping.
Milkshake bringing all the boys to the
No, I
yard.
can't think about it. I just wanted to say I'm probably going to be same for most of the actors and actresses in this is that they did a great job. But I think Idris Elba did a sterling performance. I think Ratcatcher 2 again was a great unknown role to me that really shone in this film.
That's one of the things that was one of the things I really like, because the Suicide Squad, when John Ostrander wrote it in the comics, was always very much. He really went through all the different like random villains that would appear here and there and weren't necessarily big time ones, and would pull them into the Suicide Squad.
Wax lyrical.
Hence,
That's what I was trying to get at.
Hence,
Thanks for clearing that up.
the ability to kill them off now, because they were never always the big significant characters. He didn't pick the Joker, he didn't pick the Penguin, he picked Ratcatcher 2, Polka Dot Man, or whoever, or the Captain Boomerang.
But again, James Gunn managed to get not just what's happening in the film, but he managed to get it back to, as Damien said earlier, the creation stories. What made these characters, for the majority of them, the main characters, what happened to them in the past, and how does that tie into the present? And Ratcatcher 2 was one of those great ones for me, where that harks back to her dad.
Did you spot who her dad was?
Who was it?
It was I'm gonna say it wrong. TK.
Oh yeah. But big income. Coming back to the other points, from a film perspective, the storyline was great. I don't want to talk about some of the other points that you guys are obviously going to raise. Action was spot on, obviously.
I don't think you're going to say anything that I would say.
Really?
I think the only thing, and obviously you're going to have your piece, which I'm going to input into. The thing I struggled with, and this harks back to the first film, which lost some credibility when it came to the weird bad guys, is the fact that it was almost like an evil boss level at the end of the film. And where we're going to go, we're not going to come for some like big bad Thanos battle that you're going to come up against. No, we're bringing Starro into the mix. And for me, I just kind of think, if this was, and there may be another film, okay? So they did such a sterling job with this one. There may be another one or another two in it, like a trilogy. But with Starro there, it almost took it down a level. It almost took it back to a.
See, I read that differently, but I'll get into that in a
No,
minute. I'll let him say his bit, and then.
But for me, it almost took away from that. They built up so much credit.
Was Starro the villain?
Well, whatever. But the fact you've got this like 100, 200 foot starfish.
You got a freaking kaiju here.
Yeah, exactly. It kind of took a bit away from what could have been, as if they had a evil enemy, which was more of a. All right, Damien, cover your ears, like a dark side or a Thanos or some just badass character.
I'd say they did.
What?
The US government.
Oh yeah, no, all right, whatever. But the whole Starro thing just took it to a notch where it made it not unbelievable, because it's the whole Suicide Squad is unbelievable. It took it one level which to me, I think if it had been a bad guy like a evil demon, Thanos,
They tried the evil demon thing in the first one. A bit Power Rangers.
Yeah, no, but the fact that the evil henchmen were very much Power Ranger-y type thing, a big starfish, just took something away from what it could have been for me. Not taking away from the film as a great film in my perspective, but if this is the only one, and I'm hoping it isn't exactly, then that would have been the one takeaway for me.
Okay.
But I loved it, and I love the fact that as I said, King Shark eats people, kills people, looks for food.
Yum yum.
Has all that kind of good stuff. I loved it. I loved it. It had the perfect blend, as similar to as we said about James Gunn, the comedy, the action, the violence, in spades with the violence. and I think it was true to what Suicide Squad was and should be.
Cool. And Damien.
Sorry, I was losing the will to carry on. Then it was alright.
See, the great thing about that is you got your creaky your chair just to getting close to the microphone. Like old man Hicks, come on.
Well, I don't know. It just lurched from set piece to set piece.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't think it lurched at all. I even loved
It's
the
like,
little.
some bad guys. We're gonna kill them. I'm better than you at killing people. What's her name?
Which one?
Harley Quinn. I'm gonna be funny for a few minutes, then I'm gonna kill someone. Shark. Ooh, nom nom. Friends. Hilarious. Weird polka dot guy. What was that all about?
He really didn't like his mum. I thought that was
Yeah,
that was weird.
I'm not saying
weird
there was some
indeed.
funny. There's funny bits in it, but I think, I guess to me the trailer sold me something different, and I don't have the baggage of knowing or caring what the Suicide Squad were originally in the comics. I don't care about the big bad being a starfish. I think that was actually in tone with the entire film. I don't think it took it to a different level. It kept it at the same level, which was a stupid, funny superhero film. But at the end of the day, it is just a film, and it sounds like we're debating world peace. But you know, it was alright. Sorry.
No, you're right. No, I think it got the point in this one that they kind of were ignoring in the first one and didn't want to admit. There's the fact that these people were prisoners and were bad people, and couldn't be trusted. Were horrible people, and you got to see some of that and how messed up they were.
But
Yeah, you got to see that in a kind of humorous way. I mean,
yeah,
Deathstroke, if I remember the name correctly from Arrowverse, was a much darker version of any of those characters in Suicide Squad.
yeah.
Did I get his
agree
name
with
right?
that. Yeah, you did.
Yeah. But even John Cena, Peacemaker.
Peacemaker, yeah.
I think that was a cool little touch. I mean the amount of comedy that they managed to get in there with some of his set lines, just like I'm gonna. I would absolutely eat dicks of this shore if it meant to for
peace.
Yeah, exactly. and then you find.
Sorry, did we all watch to the very end after the credits?
Yeah.
Just checking.
I was just going to say that next, actually.
Because I very nearly didn't. I thought, no, I know what these bastards are like.
Right,
so.
well, someone will mention that in a minute. But again, the fact that he's programmed in to do his role, and you see how that plays out, even though it goes against the rest of the Suicide Squad and them turning against him to save each other because they have, because they have connections with each other as well, and they decide they want to go off mission. I think that was quite clever, and you're not expecting it because if you're in the know, there's Peacemaker series coming up, and you're not quite sure what's happening within the film. To me, that was a great little twist. The what happened to him, and seeing how he, again, I don't want to give too much away.
Oh, we've said spoilers. Yeah, 'cause
Spoilers.
he was almost like
The alarm's gone off.
It was almost like the plan in the. It was almost like the plan in the team to make sure the real mission went ahead. Sort of, which was to protect the U.S. government.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is quite strong. I don't think there's been a film recently. Okay, this one's a silly, stupid superhero movie, as Damien puts it, or whatever. But I don't think there's been that much of an attack on the US government in a film for quite a while like that, is there?
Not blatantly. There's a load of films. I'm not going to bother listening that have a subtle kind of reference.
But this film had it on two tranches, didn't it? It wasn't just the Suicide Squad against the government as well. It was the government against the government.
Yeah.
So when they realised that actually maybe this mission operation wasn't the best, they decided to get a golf club
Yeah, smack Wall around the head because she's going to blow them all.
Exactly. You know, and I don't know whether that was deliberate. I'm probably sure it was, but that's right. It was government against government, and then Suicide Squad against what the objectives were.
Yeah, and the Peacemaker.
Yeah.
Capaldi was very good as the thinker. I quite liked him.
Yeah.
What I loved about him is, I don't know if it was script or like Capaldi ad lib and that, but it was just the stuff like when she went, "How would you feel if I made 2,000 rats run up your ass?" And he was just like, "I think I'm going to give an answer you're not expecting, love," or whatever it was. And just different, the level of degradation I think the thinker had for himself and what he'd done, and like, you know, he banged an alien and all that, but you know, whatever he did to Starro, and you know, spoilers. But yeah, there's a lot of I think Capaldi, kind of really went for it. Well, he always does go for it, doesn't he?
I think there are a few surprising roles again from the outset when you look at the cast that you don't expect them to shine, and I think Peter Capaldi was one of those. And I said, well, I mentioned Ratcatcher 2. Apologies, I can't remember the actor's name.
Yeah, Daniela Melchior.
Yeah, well read, remembered, or whatever.
Some notes.
I think again Idris Elba had big shoes to fill, which he managed to do in my head. But again, a lot of that's based on what Will Smith did in the previous incarnation of Suicide Squad, which I don't think was
Suicide Squad. We're back to Red Dwarf again.
Yeah, exactly. Just trying to think of something else that we haven't talked about.
Did you spot Lloyd Kaufman?
I mean, we could just move on.
Did you spot Lloyd Kaufman's cameo? Mr. Trimer. He was in the bar, you know, when they're in the nightclub.
Yeah.
Lloyd Kaufman's just at the bar as they walk in, which is, you know, the head of Trimer, which is where James Gunn got his start. So that was quite nice, because it almost was a Trimer film with a massive budget, really. And Pom Clemente, who's Mantis in the Guardians of the Galaxy films, she was the dancer girl in the bar as well, but no one seems to have spotted her. But it was her.
So, do I think this film's perfect? No. Do I think it's a great film? Yes, actually, I do, for what it's trying to do.
Okay, so out of 10,
I'd give it probably an 8.5.
I went for a 7. Damien?
Well, funnily enough, I went for a 7 because I still didn't. As a film that I know nothing about in regards to comics and all that nonsense, I enjoyed it. So it's just a film, though. It's not that important.
No, but that's a great thing, and no disrespect to you, because let's face it.
That means he's about to disrespect me.
No, I'm absolutely
Sound
not.
like a footballer then.
No, but I'm absolutely not. But because when it comes to superhero genres or
Spandex films,
Marvel or DC, you're not all there. As a big fan,
I'm not all there.
As a big fan, no. Yeah, I know, but you've been stung in the past, and we all have. Let's face it. But you know, like some of us, you're probably the most cynical.
I don't know.
No, but you're probably the most cynical.
I have got a spider bite on my finger, actually.
Can you do it? Can you get a web?
No, I'm hoping. We live in hope.
Just gave him the shits.
But I think that's a positive, is that you watched the film, you enjoyed it from your opinion.
Well, I mean, part of the thing I did enjoy, that the one guy that was kind of wearing spandex was killed pretty much straight away, so that was cool.
But I think the other cool thing about this is, you know, from James Gunn's perspective, he's got a lot more credibility from a box office perspective. He's had it in the past, and now it's continued, and hopefully it will revert back to other directors that are trying to do something similar. Yeah. Give them the range that they're supposed to have.
If you go on Twitter, there's a DC extended universe little hate campaign against James Gunn, saying that, like, if he does it, it's fine, but if Zack Snyder does it, everyone slags it off, and why does he get away with it?
Yeah, but no one did it with it. No,
but it's that toxic fan thing again. It's quite funny to read. I nearly got drawn into it just to wind them up, but I decided not to. This is a holiday time for me.
It's a shame, because it takes away from what the directors are trying to do, and also what the actors are trying to do. I mean, I think we mentioned that last time in regards to the fact of what was it? Black Arrow? Not Black Arrow.
Adam,
Black Canary.
Black Widow.
Black Widow. I wouldn't say Black Arrow. Black Widow, where it's gone straight to release, and part of the rights were based on, or sorry, some of the money was based on going to the cinema, and the profits being cascaded down to the actors and actresses. And so a lot of the stuff that the fans hear about and all the negative stuff is politics within the industry. And that comes back.
Yeah, but that's the thing now, isn't it? Everyone's more interested in that than they are in the actual films and stories
Well, I don't
or
think they're
TV
more
shows
interested
now.
in
It's
it.
become it's the same professional wrestling's gone the same. It's the
Sorry,
same
is
with
that
the
still a
Star
thing?
Wars. It's the same with the Star Wars. Everyone's more worried now about who the director is and who the key grip is or whatever than like, did I enjoy the film? Actually, yeah, I did. Yeah, but it's him. She done that, or he played that wrong, or he should have wore blue gloves and he wore red gloves. Let's ban this film. It's everyone's got so much caught up in all that sort of side of it and what goes on behind it.
I think from a fan perspective, particularly for franchises that have been around for a while, and a new film comes
It
out.
has got very toxic. I think.
No, but for when a new film comes out, they are heavily invested in the initial production, and if they hear that a director's left for whatever reason, if it was a director that had a history of producing good films that of the same ilk, shall we say, and if they hear that a director or someone from the production crew has been asked to leave, then that automatically asks questions: is this going to be a faithful film? Is this blah 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 blah? And you're right. People think they automatically have an invested interest in these stages, and actually you don't. Wait until you see what the film comes out like.
Yeah,
and
watch,
if the
watch it, then have an idea.
But if the director is there from the get-go, and if this is their vision of the film from the get-go, and if that's what they've been signed up to do...
Well, this is another thing that's happening now, moving on just a little bit from Suicide Squad. You're getting this big backlash now as well behind the scenes with the creators of these characters that have now come into the DC movies, the Marvel movies, whatever, who, some of them are like, moaning now they got sent a check for like $5,000 and a note saying thank you when these films are making millions and millions, and like Ed Brubaker, who created the Winter Soldier and all that for Marvel and that, all these people now are the writers and the artists and that. There's this big debate because they're hired as work for hire, like most people are in most jobs and most companies, and and what you do is for that company. So the debate now is, should you be entitled to any of that big moolah cash from that character you wrote about or created or drew?
Unfortunately, it's really quite clear, and that's part of what your contract at the time is. If you're contracted to create something for somebody else, then it is absolutely that. If that's £5,000 with a percentage of future royalties or whatever, then great. If it's £5,000 work for a month or a week or whatever that may be, then it's that. And don't get me wrong, there's a lot of creative people out there that are doing a lot of great work, but unfortunately it comes back to that initial contract.
Yeah, no, that's it. So there's a lot there with so Suicide Squad got an average of 7.5 out of 10 for us, and the fan debate and the creator debate will be something that carried on for a while, but there's been and it will. So also in the news this week we had the sad news that Marky Post passed away at the age of 70 after a 3-year battle with cancer. For us at Cult Faction, we'll remember her for I remember her mainly from The Fall Guy, but she was in Chips, The Incredible Hulk, Buck Rogers in 21st Century, The A-Team, Night Court, Something About Mary was one of her more recent things, Scrubs, Ghost Whisperer. She even did Transformers Prime. There's loads of stuff that woman's been in over the years, and it's sad news. Any memories, Damien?
In all honesty, no. My condolences to her family, but I I have no memories.
It's a bit more than a job just full. You evil man.
So I guess for me, there's a lot of memories that potentially aren't fitting. No, it's one of those things.
Did she help you grow up?
Well, at the time, you know, you had you know, for some of the roles that you just talked about, some of the programs you talked about, there's a key main actor and then the strong female actress, and absolutely, you know, you fell in love with some people, and there were some highlights to episodes, and you know, as Damien probably was trying to say, is that she was potentially one of those characters that was in the background potentially, but did a lot of sterling work.
And her and Keith David in There's Something About Mary Now with Ben Stiller in The Zipper will be something that most people will remember.
And it's such a classic scene as well. And the thing about that scene in particular, can you imagine the amount of outtakes? Or I'd love.
I didn't wear zipped up jeans for a long time. After that.
You've wear the same pair of jeans for the last 20 years.
Yeah, I switched to buttons.
No, but
I wish I could wear the same pair of jeans 20 years ago.
But can you imagine the amount of outtakes that there would have been for the filming of that? Yeah, but it's one of those things. Obviously, it's a sad thing.
Okay, other news. Speaking of famous women of film and TV, Catherine Zeta-Jones has been announced to play Morticia Adams, and Louise Guzman has been announced to play Gomez Adams in the Netflix Addams Family adaptation of Wednesday, which stars Jenny Ortega as Wednesday, and she's going to be attending the Nevermore Academy, where not only does she have to deal with college life, but her own emerging psychic abilities. And on top of that, quote, she is swept up in a supernatural murder mystery that entangled her parents 25 years before. What do we think?
Cares?
I do.
Who cares?
You hate the Addams Family and the Munsters
No,
so
I mean,
much, don't
Jesus,
you?
seriously, how many times have we heard this or seen this before? What they have done is taken the Addams Family and tried to make it into a Beverly Hills 90210 in the modern era with a bit of magic, with a bit of... We've seen it before, but we've talked about it before so many times on the
hatred
podcast.
in his voice, ladies and gentlemen.
What?
He's almost stood up here pointing at us.
This seems to be another blooming regurgitation of some of the stuff we've talked about over the last 10 months. It's just, it's okay, it's the Addams Family, and it's got Catherine Zeta-Jones. Am I the only one that thinks this?
No, I've checked all my pockets, I've looked behind the sofa, and I cannot find any shits to give. I don't care. I mean, I didn't care when they announced they were making or remaking this nonsense, but now that Catherine Zeta-Jones has been announced, it's definitely me out. I mean, you know, it's the final now in what is, if it's Catherine Zeta-Jones, a rather slender coffin, but it's the final now in that coffin, and I don't give a shit.
And this isn't Addams Family. This isn't, you know, the Addams Family based on the Addams Family that we knew and loved. They're going to bastardize this, and it's going to be almost like what they did with Sabrina, the teenage witch, and make that into her going off to school or whatever it was in the new world, and make it a bit deeper and a bit darker. There's so many, different variances of this that we've seen so many times before, and this is just it's the Addams Family, and it's got Catherine Zeta-Jones in it.
Whoopie-doo.
Yeah, if Michael Douglas turns up.
They got Louise Guzman. I was impressed that they actually finally managed to cast Gomez Adams, who was sort of Latin descent. But yeah, I get your point.
But this isn't the Addams Family. They're gonna have, I imagine it'd be like cutaways to them when she returns back to home, or maybe she'll phone them from her school.
Like ET.
This will, from what I've seen, this will be Wednesday Addams at school, or dealing with issues and strife, and being like the normal, mix of magic and mystery, and the teenage angst that goes with it. But we've seen so
I've
many
heard it's going to be
before.
mysterious and kooky. I don't know if that's true or not.
Mysterious and spooky as well.
Yeah, and that.
Yeah, why? They well, I know why, money that they think they're going to make, but they've tried it so many times before with the Addams Family films and the Addams Family cartoon that was just recently
He's
released.
just done a video game as well.
Yeah, and it's not selling. It hasn't sold, and now they're doing.
The film. There were 3 films, weren't there?
Yeah, and then they did a recent cartoon that wasn't a great success because no one's interested in the Addams Family. And now they're doing a TV series of the Addams Family, which isn't Addams Family, it's Wednesday, to make it a bit...
Just to let you know as well,
kooky.
there is a Monsters TV revival in development as well, Paul.
Right, let's just stop.
I know, Paul's going to have a
For
stroke
the love
in
of
a
God.
minute.
Move on.
Paul, he's getting redder and redder, there are veins popping out of his head.
Move on.
Okay, next on the news. What do we think of a Blade Runner Black Lotus? There's the new anime coming out. They've released the opening online. Do we need more Blade Runner? I don't think we do.
No. You already know I have no more shits to give. And I certainly have no more shits to give about this. The first film, which, I mean, I don't think I even saw it until some point in the 90s.
Well, by then it would have been remade about.
No, I think I saw like the original, and then
Did you see the director's cut of the director's
well, this is it.
extended cut,
We had endless
or-
cuts, director's true vision nonsense, and then we had the bland sequel a few years back, probably more than I'd care to remember. I'd say it was last year, but no doubt it was probably 5-6 years ago.
No, I don't think it was that long, but I get your point there.
Yeah, and this, well, it's a cartoon. You know what I think about cartoons
It's an anime.
aimed towards a more adult audience. It's just not my bag. And no doubt this is going to be aimed at a generation, you know, probably 10, 15 years younger than us.
You haven't even seen Blade Runner.
Yeah, exactly. And
And I think
something's
that's,
going to happen. There'll be, I don't know, a simulant will do something that in the original Blade Runner film said couldn't happen like 15 minutes and 20 seconds into the film. So every man-child on the planet is going to go up in arms and freak out because, stimulants don't do that. They're gonna, if you watched it 15 seconds and 20 seconds, blah, 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 into the film, he said, no, we can't do that. And then they go and do that. So there'll be all that. It'll be a Twitter storm for a couple of days. People it was aimed for will soon forget about it because it's probably shit anyway. And we'll all get on with our lives. So,
yeah,
you
I must agree. I wasn't overly blown with 2049 Blade Runner, whatever it was.
Well, the original was faulty anyway because, like, there, you know, it all became cult because of stuff that he messed up. Like, they, you know, like when they said there was an extra replicant and that was going to be Harrison Ford. No, there was an extra one in the film. They cut it out for time, but he forgot to change the dialogue. And then someone went, "But that means it's Harrison Ford, doesn't it?" And he was like, "Yes, it does. Yes, that's exactly what I was going for."
So my take on the first Blade Runner film, I think there was 5 minutes of greatness in the 2
we're
hour
not going
film.
on another Odyssey, are we?
Is that the bit where Rutger Hauer ad-libbed?
Pretty much. I think there was 5 minutes of greatness in an otherwise adequate film with some good special effects. The second film,
I turned it off after 20 minutes.
yeah, it was pretty much the same. I imagine if you saw that at cinema with like the surround and all that kind of stuff, it would have been spectacularly great. I didn't get that.
Well, on a more exciting note, I know this one will get you.
Really?
We've had the teaser trailer release for Stranger Things Season 4. Damien.
Okay. So I've absolutely no doubt in my mind I will watch this because I've invested 3 seasons worth so far. But
High hopes. He's got.
No, I don't have high hopes
No,
for it, to
exactly.
be perfectly honest. It went off the boil in season 3,
to
very beginning of season 3, and this really should be the last one. I mean, in my mind, nostalgia's moved on.
Yeah,
It's more
and-
90s now
and
than it
those-
is 80s. So
Those kids are 40 as well now.
exactly, I'd rather see stuff that's based in the 90s. I
If-
want to see shell suits and bum bags with a grunge soundtrack and stuff like that. Britpop.
if they
Make that happen, and I'll be happy.
if they bring it to a conclusion, if they say that this is the end, let's do something with this final series, I think they've got a chance. I don't think they're going to do that, and I think they're going to try and leave it open-ended potentially for another series depending on viewer ratings, which would be a shame because I think it's lived its moment. It's done it did its purpose. Series 1.
Well, you know what they're going to do, and we got there's obviously this Russian thing, and also they hinted at it in the last season. She's 11. We don't know what happened to the others. We've met a couple of them now.
Right. So draw a line.
Oh, you know, I agree with
Yeah.
you, but like, this is the. Then they'll be like, oh, but what happened?
Maybe she's going to go off and find the previous. I'd do the maths.
Yeah, we
then.
know what happened then.
Yeah.
Then in the very
We'll find
last
the previous
episode,
10.
they go, "What do you mean there was a 12?" It's like, no.
All right, but they need to draw a line under this chapter, and they should do. You know, we've all been there when we've
I'd
invested
like to
time
see
into.
if there's a
series.
season 5, I want someone playing Millie Bobby Brown, aged about 30, and she's going back to Hawkins, and half the series is us trying to work out what's happened since.
Yeah,
that would interest me.
and
but
maybe that's a re-kick. Yeah, so don't use the same actors.
it's,
Draw a line under it, and
well,
then
she's probably old enough to play herself. at that
yeah,
age
but
now
that's it. But they need to draw a line under this vision of Stranger Things.
Leave it a year, or even just do it as the next one. If you're gonna carry it on, do it as a Netflix movie, like with Fear Street. You know, do something like that. It's done, and you can do one every year and set it at different times. So by the time these kids are 40, you know, they still won't be 18.
Nothing from that trailer excited me, if I'm honest.
Nothing I wasn't expecting.
Yeah.
So, ooh.
Exactly.
What else, Brett?
Okay, now, well, that's it for the news items. Now we turn to the drop zone.
Drop zone.
Drop zone.
Okay, in the drop zone today, we have got 3 things for you to look out for in the upcoming weeks and months as we ride out of here. The first one is the trailer for Doom Patrol Season 3. Has anyone watched Doom Patrol yet? Caught up with it? Etc.
Don't care. Move on.
Really? I thought you'd love this. This is surreal as hell, this programme.
It's just more of the same.
Doom Patrol is not at all, though. Doom
I'm getting
Patrol
it. That from that hero thing that I can never remember what it's called. It's not Heroes. What's it called?
Yeah.
With the 7 and Vought and all that malarkey.
Oh, the boys.
Yep, I'm getting it from that. I don't need it from Doom Patrol. Job done.
Doom Patrol's more messed up than that, though.
It's
I refer you to my previous comment. I'm getting that shit from the boys. I don't need another series
I must
that gives me
admit,
the same shit.
I'm a bit with Damien on this. There are so
Have you watched it yet, though?
no.
Okay,
No.
can I?
No, hold on a minute.
Can I?
No,
Just thought of a new feature.
just 1 minute because
You want to lay the gauntlet down and say, watch Doom Patrol
Is it-
Season 1.
just 1 minute because I think I'm siding with Damien. Similar to some of the other stuff we said, there's almost a saturation point now with spin-offs or whatever, you know. And from a Doom Patrol perspective, you know, I'm sure there is a lot of great characters there, you know, and you know, as you know, Brett, as you know, I'm a keen watcher of Teen Titans. I'm aware of Doom Patrol from their crossover.
They're not.
I know, it's not like that. But there's, it's almost, what do I want to invest time watching something?
Oh, you do, but don't let your kids watch it.
No, well, but again, but I think that's where I'm struggling from. Is there's so much saturation right now about some of the same similar genres. If you're saying this is a cut above,
It's very much a cut above, and it's very much a cut of acid as well.
okay, cool. But the only reason I say that is because similar to some of the other stuff like Titans, and you know, we talked about The Boys, and we talked about some of the other stuff. You know, in my head, Doom Patrol is another one of those type of series.
You know, you've got your main concept of it, obviously being there like this team of weird people with kind of powers or whatever. But it's a lot more than that. It's very much. I don't want to say if David Lynch did a superhero series because it's not that kind of weird. It's more. I'm trying to think. It's just it's just very, very trippy.
They're a bit effed up.
Yeah, but in a kind of surreal way. So I would like to invoke a new feature on the thing called Throwing Down the Gauntlet.
Where did you get that phrase from?
It just popped into my head. Well, yeah, just watch season 1, episode 1. It's on Amazon.
I gotta pay for it.
I don't think so. No, it's on one of the.
No, don't look at me like that, Paul. You have to pay for some things, even if you subscribe.
It's on one
No,
of
I
the.
don't think so.
Oh,
It's
okay.
on one of
I wouldn't
the.
say
I thought that was like,
No. No,
It's
so I
on
don't think
one
so.
of
I've seen
the
it.
things on Amazon.
Oh, well, if you've seen it, you don't got to pay for it.
I've seen it advertised.
But
Okay, I can't guarantee that will be by next week.
it doesn't have to be by next week. Just the first episode, and then
You found the gauntlet
You-
down. I
you-
will look into it.
you
and
might
watch
think,
it.
oh yeah, it's on Prime Video,
Right.
and it's.
As I said, I'm with Damien on this one. Actually, I struggle to want to
But
invest
this
in
is
something.
this is very much not your normal. This almost goes Lewis Carroll.
Okay.
It's kind of the longer it goes on,
All right.
the
Well,
weirder it
give
gets.
us the opportunity to watch it,
Yeah.
maybe, and then we can talk about
Cool.
it. Move on.
Also on Drop Zone, we have had the another massive teaser released for Don't Breathe 2, which I haven't seen the first one, I don't think, but lot of big build up for this and a lot of huge excitement and anticipation.
So I like the first film. I actually have watched it. I didn't know what to expect at the time because it was one of those ones that kind of didn't have, as far as I know, too much publicity going for it. But the first one was quite cool in regards to the fact that there was a guy that can't see necessarily people. He said he has to be quiet, and then he turned out to be like quite kick-ass.
That's Blind Fury, isn't it? With Rutger Hauer.
Rutger Hauer, yeah.
No, it's Stephen Lang, isn't it? Who was in Tombstone actually. There was another guy in Tombstone. But wait a minute.
I'm not sure from the trailer how they bring it forward too much, apart from the fact that there's obviously some bigger entity or some.
Well, the catch line is that it's set in the years following the initial deadly home invasion, where Norman Nordstrom, played by Stephen Lang, lives in quiet solace until his past sins catch up to him. That's all we've got.
I
So-
guess you need to know what his past sins were to be interested in watching.
But I mean,
this.
are
I
they
haven't seen them,
revealed? Is
so-
it something? That's what I mean. Is it something? Do you know that from the first film,
Well,
or just something that?
I wasn't sure looking at the trailer whether there's some other spin to this, almost like a supernatural spin that they're trying to inject into this. It's hard to get from the trailer. I actually think the first film was actually quite good.
Yeah, cool. And anything on that day?
No, I haven't seen the first one, so I
No,
can't
I haven't
comment on
either.
the
But I
trailer
mean,
for
it
the
looks
second one.
interesting. It makes me want to go and look for the first one.
Yeah. Give the first one a watch. It was alright.
Cool. Alright, and lastly on the Drop Zone, Midnight Mass, which comes from the producers of The Haunting of Hill House, and it introduces Crockett Island, an isolated island community that experiences miraculous events and frightening omens. And following the arrival of a charismatic, mysterious young priest, things go awry.
Hooray!
Hooray. And it stars Zach Gilford, Kate Segal, and Hamish Linklater.
Okay. I mean, to be fair, it's ghostly, so
I'm
it's in my
intrigued.
wheelhouse.
I'm intrigued.
But I mean, after Bly Manor, are we just going to be served up the same ambiguous plot points and moody lighting for 80% of the season?
Because Hill House was pure genius, and then they.
I wouldn't go as far as to say pure genius, but it was good. And then we had Bly.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Bly Manor,
Blimey.
where for 80% of the season it was kind of ambiguous plot. Not really supposed to know what's going on. Then they had one episode that kind of explained the backstory of the house, and then they all wrapped it up. So if we're going to get that same dead horse flogged again for however many episodes this is, then I'm out.
I didn't see anything new.
Exactly.
Yeah, as I say, I'll give the first one a go, and I'm hoping it's going to be one that actually catches me and makes me want to watch more, rather than one that's like you say, Bly Manor was the same. I remember watching that, and then as the car went by, right at the beginning, I thought, something's going to be reflected in the window here. I'll slow it down. Oh, and it was. So it was even. But bizarrely though, they're not saying how many episodes. There was a rumor it was going to be 7 episodes, but they've not announced it
Well,
yet.
it's
But
not
then-
exactly a hook, is it?
But yeah, well, I
Ooh,
don't
how
know,
many
'cause I think-
episodes are we going to do? Oh.
5, do 5. No, do
but
6.
No, I think it is part
7.
of that.
7. We'll do 7.
I think parlay is
Will we?
because people then know sort of what to expect from it or whatever. Whereas then, I don't know if it's a
If
COVID
it's
thing
2,
or.
one thing. If it's 8, another. I'm not fussed if it's 6 or 7.
I'm just glad we're not in the days when it used to be like 23 episodes a season. and it
Well, that was
padded out
fine
when it was good.
as long as you knew there was another one coming, like fast forward, and they didn't just kill it.
Flash forward.
Flash forward, yeah, and just didn't kill it at the end of the series when you actually wanted to find out what happened.
They're all on. I think it's on Disney Plus. at
Well,
the
don't
moment.
watch
Yeah,
it
they're
because
on
it
the
doesn't
Star
end.
thing.
And I was like, I was almost tempted to like, oh, I might watch that again. I was like, no, don't put yourself through it
Don't
again.
do it again.
Don't why bother?
Yeah, exactly. That was it. And
I'm not going to say what I was going to say.
so that is our 3 main things that have come out, and trailers that have come out in the last week or so that we think you should be keeping an eye out on between us.
I'd say not necessarily all of us think you should keep your eye out, but
There are still a lot of good stuff on the horizon.
But yeah, things are coming out Fast and Furious now. Not that.
Not
fast.
necessarily
no.
Fast and Furious.
No,
Jesus.
none of that stuff. Don't touch that with a barge pole.
Well,
But,
you say that some of them are right.
But because now that COVID's out of the way a bit and things are starting to finish up and get finished and be filmed and released and that, so we may have an onslaught around Christmas time of a whole host of things
Have a
now that are.
bumper drop zone
Yeah.
edition for Christmas.
Yeah,
I bet you can't wait.
The 8-hour special.
I'm still looking forward to June.
No, I've
I've been going on about this a long time. I'm looking forward to June.
Who's June?
DUNE.
Cotton.
Oh, June.
Yeah.
I was to say,
Because they're constantly releasing new teaser trailers or new
Yeah.
updates.
do stand by for our Christmas Eve special where Damien reads the Hogfather.
Are we going to do that? I think we should do that.
I think there might be copyright issues with
Yeah.
doing something like that.
Well,
Let's
is
see.
he going to complain?
His estate might. His daughter definitely would.
Depends on how you do it. We'll take that offline.
I know Audible will have something to say about it as well.
Yeah. But,
You do your interpretation of it. Anywho.
Yeah, on that note, Brett,
Yeah, that's it. We're wrapping now. So we'd like to thank you all for listening once again. Again, please check us out at cultfaction.com and on Facebook, Twitter, and all the different social medias, including our new super hot TikTok, because we're down with the kids. So it's a goodbye from me.
and it's goodbye from me
And this is a goodbye from me.
And don't forget
and my
to
chair, if you can hear that.
Yeah.
and don't forget to
absolutely.
review and rate us on all your podcast devices.
And if you want to email us, hey,
Oh yeah,
give them the email
an
address. back.
email. Where would that come from, Damien?
I
That'd
knew
be
you were gonna do that.
cultfactionpodcast@mail.com.
There you go.
There you go.
So we'll see you next
On the
time.
other side.
Superman.
Tune in after the break where we have a big social committee meeting with the residents of Albert Square. Why, after all these years, not one f***ing speed bump.
It's all about the money.
I'm on a wiener.
Implement enterprise scale solution.
Enterprise scale solutions.